Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today is going to be fun because I'm talking to a repeat guest. I always love that. I love talking to repeat guests. We're actually going to be talking about something different, kind of. It's related, but it is different. But we're really, part of this is we're really focusing this week's programs. We're doing a full week of programs talking about COVID-19 and, what it's done to people financially, what it's done to people from a business perspective. But what we're going to be talking about today is really personal perspective, what it's doing to us as people, as parents, especially as parents with my guest, and also, kind of how we're coping with all of this as, as business people. As we're recording this, we are both still in full lockdown mode, working from home. By the time this airs, that may have changed slightly. They've been muttering and mumbling about that here in Georgia, but this is something that is not going to go away quickly. So we're still going to talk about it. So please join me in welcoming Matt Brennan back to our program again. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Deb. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. Well, let me tell people about you, and then we will jump into this because this is going to be a great discussion. So Matt Brennan is a copywriter and journalist from the Chicago area. He works with small and medium-sized businesses to help them tell stories that sell. Matt specializes in blogging, website content, landing pages, and other forms of marketing content. His journalism has been published in Huffington Post Parents, The Good Men Project, and Chicago Parent. He's also been published in the Chicago Sun-Times and numerous other newspapers, publications, and websites. Matt is the author of Write, Sell Now, which is what we talked about way back in 2016. But more importantly, he just wrote a book called The Virus and Us, a letter from father to son in the midst of the pandemic. So again, Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I love this concept of the fact that you have written a letter to your son, who's a first grader, and is home with you now, because schools are all closed. But what made you, but it's not something that you really want him to read tomorrow. It's something that you want him to read, as he matures a bit. So what made you think about doing this?
Just the situation that we were, kind of thrust into. No one really anticipated what happened. And as the situation unfolded, I just needed to process it in a way that I knew how. I sat down and wrote.
Right. Have you ever done anything like this before?
Well, I was a parenting blogger for quite a while when my son was real young, but I kind of stopped doing that. I wanted to respect his privacy in some way, and when the joke became some of the funnier stuff that he was doing, I just preferred
might look back on and go, Dad.
I didn't want to do anything lasting damage that way. So I preferred it when it was kind of my interpretation of the normal day-to-day parenting.
Right. And I really like this concept of writing him a letter. And especially because it's not something that you're planning on him reading right away. And it's to tell him what you're going through right now, and what you're going through with him, what you're going through with your wife, who is a nurse. Bless her, bless her, bless her. You know, and part of why I thought this would be so cool to talk about on the program is to encourage the parents and, you know, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever, who are listening to this program, to write down their thoughts, to share with the younger generation, because this is very different. You know, we've been through a variety of things that, you know, may or may not be, you know, somewhat similar. You mentioned in your letter that the closest thing in your frame of reference is September 11th.
Yeah.
Pretty much for me too. Now I am older. And so, you know, I remember Vietnam and, you know, and some things like that. But then of course our parents are remembering true world wars, you know, and things like that. And so the thought of writing this down for the younger generations, and, you know, you published it, but, you know, most people, this would just be something that they would write down and maybe say for them. But I'm thinking of what a cool gift to give to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that is something that people, as you know, as we go through this, no matter how old you are, that's something that we can do. I mean, we've encouraged my son, who's 7, to write down what he's feeling at certain times too. Just you know, it's something that he can look back at.
Right. And it's kind of like journaling, but when you journal, it's like the old-fashioned diaries. You're not really intending on anybody else to ever read it. You know, and blogging to some degree, but you're writing that usually for a bigger audience. You know, I like that this is a letter to someone very specific.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking to him first and foremost, but I mean, I guess the reason that I published it was that I think it might help with working parents and, you know, just families in a situation right now that, you know, find themselves suddenly in the teacher role.
Right. Well, and you are doing this as a fundraiser, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my intent is to give half of the royalties that I make to the Northwestern Medicine COVID Relief Fund.
Okay.
And that's a healthcare system, one of the larger healthcare systems up here in Chicago.
Right. And it is just an ebook. It's on Amazon, you know, and we'll obviously have the links to it. But, you know, it's, and again, you know, for most people, they're not going to publish it. You know, it really is something that they'll just, you know, take and they'll fold up and they'll, you know, they'll put away. And I'm going to encourage people, if you're doing this, you might not handwrite it, but I want you to print it. You know, print it, put it somewhere and save it for them. You know, and because that's the written letters are what makes it more special too than just reading about something on a computer.
Yeah. And I don't know, for me, I feel just kind of a personal connection with something when I do handwrite it. You know, so that there is that. I know a lot of writers actually do their first drafts that way.
Right.
I didn't with this, but it is you know, something that can, you know, if you do that handwritten method, it can make you feel more connected to the content.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. I've had several friends who have started handwriting letters to people right now. My aunt has gone back through her Christmas cards for several years, and, you know, we send out Christmas cards. I don't. I'm bad. You know, and you get a card. It might have a couple sentences in it. It might have a photocopy of a letter. You know, I was about to say mimeographed. Oh dear Lord, I was going to give away my age there. But, you know, it's got something, but it's really not overly personalized. And so people are going back through and sending true personal letters, even if it is just a card that says, hey, you know, thinking about you today. How are you doing? But I know many people who are truly writing letters, and some of them are doing them on emails. Some of them are doing on text, you know, all those various things, but they're reaching out and communicating with people. And I think part of that is because we've got a lot of time. I mean, we're on week 4-ish as we record this of being quarantined. Depends a little bit on where you are as to how long you've been quarantined. Some have been more, some have been less, some will be for quite a bit more. And so we do have the time to be going through and writing these letters.
Yeah. And what a great way to connect with people. I think that's great. I've done that some with my business even. I try to connect with people that way, because it's a way that not as many people use anymore, so it's less crowded and it stands out.
Yeah, just today I got a phone call, and it was one of those that I almost didn't answer, but I thought, oh, it's actually an Atlanta number, so I probably should. So it's probably not as spammy as it might be. And it was the president of one of the business associations I belong to. And she was just checking in. How you doing? How's your business doing? And I had to stop and think of who she was for a second, but I thought, wow, wasn't this cool? And I mean, we didn't talk for more than 2 minutes. Didn't need to. I mean, if there would have been something I wanted to chat with her longer about, I'm sure we would have. But I thought, now that was pretty cool. For her to do that.
And I'm guessing that some of those calls that she may have made did end up being longer.
Right. And and I'm sure there were probably also quite a few where she left a voicemail message. So but yeah, and reaching out to clients, to business associates, it's, and the bad part is, it is a shame that it takes something like this for us to remember, hey, we need to be personal, to reach out to people.
Reach out. Yeah, that's true.
And we really have gotten away from that. It's, and of course it's been probably when we really started using email way back, it's easier, right? And part of it is because you can send somebody an email message, a text, or whatever, whatever your technology is. It's quick, it's fast, and you don't have to worry about them talking to you. I was talking with another one of my guests one time about the fact that we might still call people on occasion, but how many times do we time it to where we know they're not going to answer because we really didn't want to talk to them, but we knew we were supposed to leave them a message. And so we're going to call, we're going to leave a message, and we'll be done. And I mean, it's like we're back to being, 13 years old, and we don't really want to talk with that other person, but we should.
Right.
They answer and you're like, oh, I forgot who I called, right?
Yeah.
So you've been doing the combination of homeschooling and working. And again, as I said, bless your wife. She is a nurse. And you talk in the book about the fact that fortunately she is not dealing with COVID patients. But her workload is still, it's not that it went away. She is still a very, very important part of the medical community. But that means you're holding down the fort.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Mom and Mr. School Teacher and trying to work. So let's talk a little bit about how you're doing all that with a first grader. It's different if it's a teenager that you could say, yeah, just go away. But a first grader's like, Dad.
Yeah, it's Dad. Hi. That kind of all day long. No, they're. I mean, I would imagine that the parents of a teenager are going to have a very different set of real problems at this point. And I don't envy that either.
Right. They have teenagers that get bored. You can kind of keep a little one more occupied. But
yeah. But to go back to the beginning, to where you started, my wife is an infusion nurse, and that means that she's giving patients large amounts of medicine that need it. Sometimes it's autoimmune, sometimes it's an antibiotic. These various different reasons, and it's essential.
Mhm.
And as of right now, she's still, in her department
Mhm.
and working. That can change.
Right.
The census for her hospital has been relatively low to this
Mm.
point
Mhm.
on COVID, and I'm gonna
Good.
knock on my wooden
Mhm.
desk right
Yeah.
now.
Knock on wood, knock on wood. Mhm.
But so we do realize that can change.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's essential. She's gone
Mhm.
almost every day, for work, and she does 4 10s, 4 10-hour shifts during the
Okay.
week. So
Mhm.
um, every once in a while there's a
Mhm.
floating day off,
Mhm.
which is why you have my undivided attention
Mhm.
at this
Oh, we're
point.
not gonna get
Uh,
dad, 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 dad.
right, right, right. So, but other than that, I like this day has become sacred.
Mhm.
But other than that, yeah, I'm upstairs
Mhm.
in our main area. Both Jamie and my son and I
Mhm.
are sitting at the kitchen table.
Mhm.
He's got his Chromebook open
Mhm.
and doing his like what the school assigns for him,
Mhm.
and I've got whatever client work
Mhm.
is going,
Right.
and I just really try to
Mhm.
make it work.
Mhm.
And we do break up the day a little bit more than I would if it was just me here.
Mhm.
For instance, before before lunch we have a Nerf gun fight. So that's something fun
Mhm.
that I wasn't able to do before.
Right. Yeah, you
Before
could, but just bounce off the wall and
right.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean we try to keep it light.
Mhm.
It is Chicago, so we haven't had the number of warm days that you've
Mhm.
probably had in Atlanta.
Right. Mhm.
But on the ones that
You
we
guys
do
had snow
get, yeah,
not
just
long
a few days
ago.
ago,
Mhm.
just a few days ago.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm when the weather permits, we'll
Mhm.
go outside, we'll play catch,
Mhm.
go for a walk, do
Mhm.
those kinds of things. But that's been not as much as I would
Mhm.
like at this
Mhm.
point, but
Right.
we're headed into the
Mhm.
season where it's more possible.
Mhm. Right. I loved reading in your book slash letter, and it really is short, folks. Don't this is about your walks and how you that was really a good bonding time for you.
Yeah,
And it's funny when I've talked with a lot of my friends, about the pandemic. One of the things that universally we have all said is that hopefully on the other side of this people still are going, you know what, I need to spend time with my family.
yeah,
That's it maybe not 24 hours a day, but they realized these little people are people we want to get to know.
yeah.
And we want them to know us, and so we're hoping that the things like the walks continue, and so. But tell us a little bit about your walks because I loved hearing about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been awesome watching him process
Hmm.
certain things, and it's an opportunity for us to talk about
Hmm.
stuff that's not related to the news and
Right.
not super heavy.
Hmm.
I mean, sometimes we do talk about that,
Hmm.
but just yesterday we were able to go on a walk, and he's looking around, and there's this gravel area to our right, and he says, "Dad, how are rocks formed?" And
And
it's
you're
like,
like, ooh.
oh, uh, yeah, and I gave him the best I could muster from my high school earth science
Mhm.
education. And then from there, when we got home, I showed him a YouTube video with
Mhm.
a much more detailed
Mhm.
answer, and kind of covered my bases there. But, yeah, I mean, he's just asking those kinds of
Mhm.
questions, and I think the example that I used in the book was he was trying to figure out. Now, my wife is from a very large extended family, and
Mhm.
there's a lot. He's got second cousins on that side,
Mhm.
and he's got a uh, one familial cousin
Mhm.
on my side,
Mhm.
and he was trying to piece together the difference and what it meant,
right,
and
and yeah, which
right,
I
right.
don't always understand. I'm like, are they a first cousin once removed, or
Yeah, and after the word second cousin left my mouth here, I'm wondering in my head if it was
yeah, I don't
that.
think they know.
But I think my cousins are either I don't know.
It's very
I'll leave
confusing,
that.
but it would have been a fun conversation with a 7-year-old.
But no, he was trying to piece together the difference
Mhm.
between the relations on both
Mhm.
sides, and it was really interesting to see him do that, and then to process it in his life. When I grow up, if I do this, then
Right.
those would be my kids' cousins or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, he was. It's just I find it so fascinating to
Mhm.
watch
Right.
him figure that stuff out.
Mhm. Yeah. And oh, it really is a great time to be spending with him. And hopefully it will continue, long, after all of this, and once he's a lot older. Of course, it gets tricky because then everybody's schedules go back to normal, and at some point, especially with a lot of kids, they're in after school things, so sports, music programs, all sorts. So time gets to be very precious. And again, I'm really hoping that people really do realize we need to keep in touch with these little people.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and I mean, I'll be happy for him and happy myself
mhm,
when he's back in the spring sports and the
mhm,
fall sports and
right.
doing all
Mhm,
that. But right now it
mhm,
is nice to have this opportunity to connect with him.
mhm,
And I mean, I guess to go back to the letter too,
mhm,
um, that was something that I wanted to stress in all this. Yes, it's crazy. Yes,
mhm,
it's stressful. Yes, it's hectic, and you've got
mhm,
every right to be as frustrated as
mhm,
as you are, at handling some of this. But it's also
mhm,
a beautiful opportunity.
right.
It's an opportunity that we otherwise wouldn't have to be a
Mhm,
formative uh, influence in their
mhm,
education. And I always knew I'd be there for as a resource for
mhm,
him, but I never thought that I'd be the homeschooler or I'd
right.
be monitoring his school
Mhm,
while all this is going on.
mhm,
That just it's not something I would have signed up for,
right.
but
Well, and
here we are.
my guess is that virtually all parents are thinking that right now, even if they are professionally trained as teachers. They never planned for the most part. Now, obviously there are a lot of people who homeschool, some things like that, but for many parents, they weren't thinking they were going to be teachers
Yeah,
and having to work from home at the same time. I mean, and that's where it gets to be really tricky. And, one of the things that I was thinking about is it's so cool that your son gets to see you working.
yeah,
And he gets to, because I'm guessing it's, dad, what you doing now? Tell me
right,
what you doing now, dad.
right.
And even, even teenagers, what are you going to do? And,
Well,
but it's a great opportunity for you to be such a great example to him, to show, this is what's going on.
yeah, and the interesting part of that too is his mom's a nurse.
Mhm,
And that's easy to explain. I
mhm,
mean, that's when
right.
someone's sick or injured,
Mhm,
mom
mhm.
helps.
The
My
infusion
job
part's a little bit
now,
weird, but yeah, but nurse
yeah,
is nurse. Mhm,
your your audience may have a better understanding of what I do,
mhm,
but explaining that to a 7-year-old,
mhm,
I don't know if you ever watched the television show Friends.
mhm.
There was the inside joke about what Chandler Bing did for a living, and no one could answer.
Nobody ever could figure out what Chandler did.
You get in the right audience with some of this, business stuff,
Mhm,
but it can feel that way
right. Mhm,
where no one knows.
mhm,
I have friends who are in business who don't
mhm.
understand.
Right. Oh yeah.
What's
Or
going
I
on.
tell people I do social media posts for people, and they're like, you write on Facebook for somebody? How can that be work?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it can.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. And but it's but you're also having to be learning at the same time. I mean, it's not to date you, but it has been a while since you were a first grader.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and things change. I mean, they teaching, they do things different, all these various things. One of my favorite memes that I have seen numerous times on Facebook, and I have saved it and have sent it to some of my parents who are, or my friends who I know who are homeschooling right now, is the one that says, think about the teachers who next fall are going to have to deal with, that's not how my mom taught me.
Right.
So Jamie's going to say, that's not how my dad taught me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how familiar you are. There's something Common Core math,
Mm-hmm.
with the elementary kids and stuff like
Right.
that. Now, Jamie's in first grade, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not anything.
Not too bad, but
as they progress,
mm-hmm. Oh
there
yeah.
are very different ways of doing,
Mm-hmm.
larger addition
Mm-hmm.
problems,
Mm-hmm.
multiplication, and some of this. And, another of my favorite Facebook memes was, where I think it said something along the lines of homeschool kids are about to learn how to carry the one, just because the way we were taught
Mm-hmm.
is not the way that they're learning.
I know, and which is very strange because 1 + 1 really should always equal 2. But yeah, I remember we had the new math,
Yes.
and my mother is an extremely intelligent woman. She couldn't figure out new math for anything. I mean, she could get the answers, but and it was I mean, it was very complicated. But I remember thinking, isn't math?
So yeah, there was about a week or so of this at the beginning where no one really knew what was going on.
And you didn't know how long it was going to be. I mean, all sorts of things.
Well, yeah, I guess we still don't know that.
Right.
But, the school eventually chimed in and said these are going to be the things that you have to do. Like they opened up the distant learning, and so there's guidance from educators as to how to complete the school year. But for the first week or two of this, we didn't know if that was what was going to happen. And I'm just trying to keep him on a schedule. So I just sat him down with a multiplication table. I was like, this is multiplication. It's more memorization than anything. So I figured it was a way to advance him without doing too much damage.
Right.
And,
you didn't tell him compute pi.
Right. I'm trying to, I'm a copywriter by trade. So, my math skills are, not
like mine would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's got to be challenging for parents too, is they have their areas of knowledge. Some are experts. I mean, when it's time for English class or whatever they might call it now, literature, I mean, whatever, for first grade, I'm not sure, but you're really going to excel in that. But like you said, math, maybe not so much. And so that's really where it's interesting. And especially when we're thinking about, this could be a longer term type of thing. Parents, as I was saying before, parents who never ever expected that they would be teaching their kids are having to teach their kids and do their own jobs.
Right. No, I know there's probably a good number of working parents who did decide a long time ago that this is the path that they were going to take, that they do spend a portion of their day home with their children, whatever, and God bless them. But there's also that division there of people who never intended for this role, who now find themselves in it. And I think that takes a mental adjustment.
Right. And and it really could be longer term. I mean, I'm from Colorado and just saw some things coming across Facebook where they're saying they might not reopen the schools until January. And to me that seems really long.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, people are going to start going back, businesses will be opening again starting next week, all these various things. So I'm not quite sure why kids will be staying home that long, but I mean, obviously safety is
Yeah.
the biggest concern. But I also wonder how many parents are going to think this was good. I liked this. And I've, I think there's going to be a lot of companies that, and it's funny because I have differing opinions when I talk to people about this. I think there's a lot of companies that are going to go, you know what? This worked to have our employees from home. We might not need to rent or own these gigantic buildings. We can provide them with equipment. We can provide them with Wi-Fi, all those various things for a lot less money. And so there might be the opportunities for people to homeschool where they never really thought about it before.
Yeah. And I do think that there will be some definite changes coming out of this. That things that we were forced into now, that I agree, businesses might just say that made sense. That's
Right. We'll bring everybody together. We've got technology. I mean, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the business end, it's definitely the work from home. I think telehealth and telemedicine has been another surprise out of this. Like those. I have an appointment with a doctor next week. That instead of going in for a routine visit, it's going to be over the phone.
Right.
So.
Right. Now I will say, an essential person is the person that does my hair. Boy, we were laughing about that before the program. But yeah, I had a telemedicine appointment last week with a new doctor. I'd never seen this person. So that was really different. What threw me, or it shouldn't have thrown me, she was an hour late. But yeah, it was, and like at one point she needed to see if my feet were swelling. And so I had to hold the camera so that she could see my feet. And I'm thinking, is she seeing my feet? I couldn't tell what she was seeing, and luckily I was doing it on my cell phone as opposed to, a camera like you and I are using. Cause well, I guess I could have put my foot up in front of the camera, but yeah, telemedicine. I've also, we've talked about universities. I think that's going to be a big change where, so many kids, and I say kids as in any age, are going to be taking classes remotely, a lot more than they, and, we've been trending more towards that. But I think, for a lot of people, they couldn't afford regular university. They couldn't do the tuition. They couldn't do the room and board. They might not be able to. I mean, they might be their family breadwinner. They, all these various things. And so now to have the opportunity to take classes from premier universities, or just take, some basic type of things from the community college down the street, to do it, remotely and online, I think that's going to be a big change.
Yeah, I agree. I think schools are, the like you say, the universities, that's going to be just a huge change. And without opening up this can of worms too far, I wonder if like what that will do to cost.
Right. Right.
If it could drop it down.
Oh yeah. Well, and then there is that little thing that's college sports. I know you're a college sports fan. I'm a college sport. My basketball team was going to go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in years.
Oh.
Now there's only one that's leaving, so hopefully they'll be okay. But sports are obviously a big thing on college campuses, and there will be, you still have to go to, performing arts. We were laughing with a friend of mine that, it's not like you can have chemistry somewhere, in your home. You have to go, but it still could be a remote location, and so maybe it's that, you've got people who are taking classes you've got 10 people in Atlanta that are taking classes at university, and they come together and they do their chemistry class, or they go to campus just for a week or something like that. But yeah, college sports, and that really is a whole different can of worms. Because of course the big thing with college sports right now, not only did we miss basketball, what the heck's going to happen with football? And I'll be honest, I still have my University of Colorado football tickets. But if summer school doesn't take place, football can't take place, because that's when, and as they were saying, they are students first. And so if you're not having class, they can't be there practicing. And so, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes, at least for a year, as to what's happening. I love the fact that the NCAA looked at all of the spring sports, the things that are strictly a spring sport, and said, you know what, we're going to give you another year of eligibility. But that messes stuff up. I mean, the incoming freshmen who are expecting a scholarship, now all of a sudden there's not a scholarship available.
Competition.
And so, this, and I think it really is with businesses, probably, we were talking before about, businesses are going to say, we really don't need that office space. I'm also guessing there's going to be quite a few businesses that go, ooh, we might not need all those employees. Or, good for you and me, we can just hire consultants. And I think that's going to change a lot too.
But for the person who was looking for the full-time job and looking to, start their career, get their career going somewhere, and, that's going to be hard. That's going to, and there are some horrible economic impacts with this that I'm sure we'll feel for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is one aspect of this. I've been working from home since 2009, so there's nothing new there, but there's so many people that may find themselves working from home or in whatever capacity after either after a forced exit or like the company's change and it's all new. But like, so for my circumstances, the added variable here was definitely Jamie.
Right. You hadn't planned on Brennan Elementary.
Right. But no, I can see for so many people here that'll just be very difficult.
Right. And we've been talking about kids not going back to school, whether it's the schools don't open up or they decide to have them home. But there are still things that kids need school-ish for. Sports is a big one, sports, music programs, art programs, all of those things. And so it could be that this is a great opportunity for people to be starting businesses, to say, you know what, we're going to have after school programs where, they come and they play soccer or they come in and, we've got basic band, all of those various things.
Yeah. I think so too. There could be some definite opportunities after all this is past us a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and of course, right now the problem is the uncertainty. We just don't know. Here in Georgia, they are lifting many of the restrictions. So we are doing this on April 22nd. It'll actually air a couple weeks after this. So by the time this airs, restrictions will be gone for most of Georgia. Businesses, they're encouraging to open back up. There's really no such thing anymore as and now clearly this is still a test. You have a lot of people get sick. Well, then stuff gets shut back down. But the plan, as we are recording this, is that many things open back up on Friday. Restaurants are allowed to open back up starting on Monday. Obviously lots of restrictions, lots of things. And so some are saying, you know what, we're not going to do it. We're still concerned about safety, quite a few things. But, the hard part is it's rolling out weird everywhere. Some states are still going to be really locked down. Some states never locked down. I mean, what they say, there's still like 4 states that never went on lockdown. Well, they're
really?
not really populous states. It's not like you needed to lock down North Dakota. But yeah, so the uncertainty, both for businesses, for schools, for parents, I mean, all this, I mean, that's got to be one of the hardest things to deal with. And you talk about that in your book, that it's a stressful time.
Yeah. I mean, there is certainly a lot of uncertainty here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned before, I'm in the Chicago area.
Mm-hmm.
And our governor, like our state, we're on lockdown until April 30th, but
Mm-hmm.
he's the schools have already closed for the remainder of the
Right.
school
Yeah,
year.
it wasn't going to make sense to bring kids back for just a couple of weeks.
Right. And he's hinted at the longer lockdown, but he hasn't
Mm-hmm.
announced anything formal yet. So my guess is, we'll be in, full on lockdown through
Mm-hmm.
the end of May,
Mm-hmm.
likely. Of course, that could all be different by the
Mm-hmm.
time
Right.
this airs. But that would be just
Mm-hmm.
my random. I mean, they've been a little more stringent on things here in Illinois, but I mean, Chicago is by far and away not New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it has
Oh,
been.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are thousands of cases
Mm-hmm.
in the Chicago area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little less. We're on the far west suburbs, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not as much here, but it's enough to be concerned.
Right.
And my guess is we'll still be dealing with this
Mm-hmm.
for a long time.
Right. And I personally will probably stay pretty much on lockdown through May. I have some medical issues where it's like, you know what, I really don't need to, or if I'm out and about, I'm going to have a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody doesn't like that. Well, too bad, so sad. And I mean, that's their problem. But it at least with September 11th, which is, the other thing that we've been kind of comparing this to, it was pretty short term. I mean, I only remember businesses being closed for like 2 or 3 days. We went back really pretty quickly. Now, we went back in Colorado really quickly. And part of that, and it was funny because I worked for a worldwide company, and they said, do what is appropriate for your area. They weren't going to mandate it. They weren't going to say. And so in Colorado, we went back fairly quickly. I mean, I think we may have only shut down for like 2 days. And they, and they said, why? And I said, well, you need to understand, we live our policy was we followed Denver public schools. If they were closed, we were closed. So that really worked, especially like with snow. If Denver public schools were closed because of snow, then the company was closed. But they didn't really shut down. And after September 11th, and people were questioning that. And I said, you need to understand, this is where Columbine happened. I said, teachers know how to deal with the students far better than the parents do. And so they didn't really shut down schools. And that has been kind of the issue here is what gets shut down, what doesn't. I saw a thing over Easter where it was a minister who was saying, I don't understand. People can go to Walmart. They can go do this. They can go do that, but they can't go to church. You know what? They got a point. But of course, it's the whole social distancing thing. You can social distance in Walmart, or you should be able to, a little bit easier than you could at church, but you can still social distance there. And so that's, and then of course, with different states doing different things. I mean, that's what got strange too.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll remember out of this is, just the, every governor handling this, just a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, of course it's politics, but of course, you don't know what's right. And we're all just kind of, going for the ride that our state, puts us on.
And without getting into politics, it's not like we're saying that we wanted the federal government to say this is what's going to happen, for a variety of reasons. I mean, not the least of which is what happens in Atlanta and Chicago is very different than what happens in Wyoming. And so that's where things needed to be kind of left up to the various areas.
Well, and that's something interesting that's going on here in Illinois too, is the governor has been very on this and very kind of a hawk as far as monitoring what's going on. But just recently he's saying floating this idea of opening the state up region by region. So just here in Illinois, I mean, we've got the Chicago area, which is very urban. And then there is, downstate, the western part of the state. You get 2 hours from Chicago in any direction.
It's pretty rural.
It's very rural. So there won't be that much difference from Iowa. So that would probably make a difference too. Where it's going for a walk down Michigan Avenue is going to be a lot different than going for a walk where I am even. Right. And then it's all different, and I like that approach of having that flexibility, because we're not all in the same living environment. We're not all under the same threat, really.
Right.
And then you mentioned medical issues, and I'm in the same boat. Where we'll still be on lockdown for a little bit, but even when this is over, I'm not sure how quickly I'll be reinitiating myself into the same old habits. Some of it'll come, some of it might take a little bit.
Right. And some of it might, you might say, nah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be that way with a lot of things, where, crowds, good example, one of the things that people have been saying, will we have concerts again? Of course, we will have concerts. I mean, will I think twice about going? Yes. For probably a long time. And part of that is I'm not a big crowd fan. And as I get older, I mean, but that said, if you were to tell me I could go to University of Colorado football game tomorrow, hello, I'm there. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting when things go back to whatever the heck normal is going to be, what we choose to do. And when we choose, I was saying, they're lifting the restrictions here within a couple of days. I'm probably still not going to go out and get my hair done for a month. It's just a variety of reasons why I'm not going to go do that. But at the same point, oh heavens, I go stir crazy. Because I'm what they call the medically fragile. Doesn't that sound pitiful? That's what our governor calls people. They're medically fragile. And so every Sunday we've been going for a drive. So now, of course, it has become that, Miss Daisy is being taken for a drive, and, and we go for a couple of hours, and, and we're just driving. I mean, there's sometimes a destination in mind, sometimes not, but to not go, I need to get out and about. And I think that's one of the other things that we have learned through this is just how social we are. And you work from home, I work from home, but we still, we need to see people.
Right. I mean, I've always kind of, felt that social isolation as part of, as part of the work from home, ordeal. And now it's interesting, the world is experiencing what we experience, and, some of us handle it easier than others, and some of us are kind of bouncing off a wall.
Right. Well, and for me, it's the whole thing of being told I can't go out and about. I revert back to the first grader being told you can't do that. Well, Of course
Yeah.
I can. And so, and it's funny, you talk in your book about some of that too, especially with your son, that this is not a punishment for him. But it's very hard for him to grasp that he can't see his friends, that he can't go do these things. And I feel bad, like, for high school seniors
Oh,
who no prom, no graduation. Now, yes, there are bigger things, but that was something they looked forward to. Now, a lot of parents are like, whoa, saved us a lot of money. But yeah, it is. And it's funny. I believe in your book, you mentioned the fact that, it's kind of like we're being punished because the bad kids couldn't behave themselves. Right. So we get stuck inside because people couldn't social distance.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned a couple of instances that made the news, that, just kind of got under my skin when I saw them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like, to me, obviously my wife is a nurse. So, even though she's not dealing with this on the front lines, you're
very conscious of it.
With those who are. And I should mention, she is a former ICU nurse. So, had she remained in her old department.
Oh, she would be.
Right. And I've seen the Facebook posts from her former coworkers and what those look like right now. And I've got all the respect in the world for them.
And you're thinking, I'm never going out again. Nope.
Yeah. I'll do what you need, and that's it, because these are the people who are tasked with saving your life, if needed. So, that's pretty powerful. But yeah, so yeah, I've been very close on that end, and that's shaped a lot of my thinking on this. I'm sure.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, it's good that your son is only 7, because there's an awful lot of this that he just won't remember. And really, hopefully, it's done in a couple months. Yeah, they're saying, "Ooh, could come back in the winter."
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, we'll deal with it then if it does. Could be something totally different by then. Who knows? But that is kind of the good thing about being young. So he won't remember a big chunk of this. But that brings me back to why I think this letter that you wrote for him is so cool, because this really is a big part of his life. And the letter is going to remind him about it and talk to him about it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what I was hoping for, is to provide that context for when he is.
Yeah, because he'll think, did I have to stay home did I have to miss school for a couple months?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned in there, like, my lasting memory from the age of 7 was a trip to Disney World.
I don't think I remember anything from 7.
Yeah, well, that was a big one.
Yeah, Disney would be a big one.
But, so I guess the point being that his won't be as rosy. It won't be such a fond memory.
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about the fact that you ended up having to miss his birthday celebration.
Yeah,
and as a 7-year-old, that's a really big deal.
it all started right. His birthday was March 11th.
Oh.
And the following week is when we entered our current situation. And it was just surreal. I mean, the scaling back that we had to do was just
right, because we started little, and then it was like, nope.
Yeah. I think I mentioned that in the book too. Like, we this was the first year we weren't going to do a birthday party. We were going to try to provide this experience. The Museum of Science and Industry here in Chicago. And the week that we were supposed to do that, we looked at each other like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah. And especially your wife. She's like, no,
yeah, I'll follow her lead on this any day.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it just kind of kept going back from there to the point that his grandparents came over, and we were very distanced even at that point, so.
Right. And you can have another birthday celebration for him, in the summer, whenever. But yeah, I mean, it has changed a lot of things. I saw somebody's Facebook post who's my age, so a little long in the tooth, and she said, yesterday was her birthday, and she said, it wasn't the first time she'd been alone for her birthday, but it really was very different this time.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, Matt, we are almost done. And this has been so much fun. And again, I want to encourage people to not only read your letter, but to write letters to their own loved ones, whether it's their children, might be a spouse, who knows, but write those letters to talk about what you're going through during this time, and have it for them. This is not a journal. This is not something like that. So I think this is very good. But in the time we have left, tell us about what you do when you're not writing letters to your son or being the teacher.
Yeah. I do various copywriting projects for different clients, and it's a lot of blogging, a lot of website content, and projects of that nature. So yeah, like when all this happened, I was on the phone a lot trying to just reassure my existing clients.
Right.
And,
still working.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of what I've been doing here.
Right. I love it. So how would people find you and connect with you?
My website is MatthewBrennanCopywriter.com, and you can find me there. And I have all the rest of my existing contact information and a page regarding the book as well.
Perfect. And again, the book is called The Virus and Us, A Letter from Father to Son in the Midst of the Pandemic. So any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Well, I really like your suggestion with encouraging people to write to their kids, their loved ones, their family, and let them know what they've been thinking through all this, and that's a great way to stay connected. Cool.
I love it. Well, okay. We're not going to wait 4 years before we do this again. So hopefully there will be, you'll write another book, or there will be some other cool reason, not a pandemic, that we'll be chatting. And until then, this really has been fabulous. I've been having a great time talking with Matt Brennan. I am Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.